So like Twitter, Facebook is an important platform for advocacy and movement building. So when Facebook recently changed its algorithm and encouraged pages to start paying for promotion, there was obviously a lot of concern. Now the danger that Facebook would begin to throttle pages that didn't pay and features those that do turned from concern to reality. Now Gawker put up a great article showing the impact of the recent decision of Facebook to reduce what they call the organic reach of pages down to 1 to 2%. Now, organic reach is, of course, how many people your posts will actually show up on their feed. And if it's only 1 to 2% of people are getting your feed, that's obviously a problem. And once again, Facebook is charging people to increase that organic reach. So it's one of those two-tiered sort of things. Now that, of course, would certainly affect corporations with lots of likes, for example, Nike, but it will also affect smaller pages and communities that use Facebook for advocacy, political action, and to spread content. I think an example is our page, facebook.com/TYTNation. Little plug. Now Facebook, for us, is actually one of our bigger mediums that drive views to our channel. Now we're using us as an example, but it will also hurt nonprofits, activists, and social advocacy groups. Basically, anybody who wants to send out a message to people who like their page now has to pay for most of their people who like the page to actually see their posts. Now, I actually want to show you an image of the impact that it will have on some of these pages. So as you can see, the organic reach as a percentage of total likes, ever since Facebook has rejiggered their algorithm, you can see that it's just had a massive, massive fall off of likes, or of organic reach, I should say. That is pretty. That's not a good thing when it comes to places that want to get out a message. The problem with this is that just like the proposed net neutrality rules, is that Facebook is adopting a pay-to-play model when it comes to actually being able to have people see the post to those who actually like their page. Now, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. What do you think?
I want to jump in first.
Go ahead.
Facebook has to make money, right? Mm-hmm. So I understand them selling some like kind of priority advertising to certain groups who are willing to pay for it, but they also have to find the right balance, because the only thing that makes Facebook worthwhile is that people are using it, free users are using it, so it's best not to piss a lot of them off. So if it was like 70%, like I think it's perfectly fine that they're doing it at 98%, even though it negatively affects us, or our Facebook page, particularly Jeff's Facebook page. But if they, I think they really need to work on the right balance. Is my overall point. I think if it was like 70% of the traffic they gave to the paid people, and 30% they let be more organic and all that, because in reality, even if you pay for more Facebook likes, it doesn't always work. I mean, we didn't cover this story, but it was all over like the news that the State Department paid like $650,000 to get more Facebook likes, and it really didn't work that much. So like if they balance it so they can make money, because we have to understand, since Facebook's free, they need some way of making revenue, and letting the organic like people rise and gather on Facebook groups, then I think it's going to be perfectly fine, and it might work out well for Facebook. But if it's like 1 to 2% is the organic people that aren't paying for it, I don't think that people are going to like Facebook anymore.
I kind of agree that Facebook, they do have to make money. They are a company. They are kind of listed on the stock exchange, so on and so forth. The whole, like, having only 2% organic, that seems relatively outrageous to me, because it will drown out certain voices. I mean, people probably won't be noticing it too much now, probably not even when it comes to the 2014 election. But come to 2016, the main presidential election, that's when kind of social media advertising, that's when it really comes to the forefront of everyone's minds, whether you're in the industry or not. And if it's just 2% organic during that time, I think that has a real impact on kind of the levels of democracy and having an informed or a correctly informed democracy. Because if the Koch brothers, or I'm not just saying from the right, it could be George Soros or whoever you want to label, if they want to put a whole ton of money behind some sort of political campaign and they're paying for it, and yet you've got some other advocacy group who's, just for the sake of example, against the Koch brothers policy, then the Koch brothers are just being able to drown them out on Facebook. I'm considering Facebook has about 1.3 billion people now on it. That just seems ludicrous. To, like Sean's saying, it should be 70-30. I'd maybe say 60-40, but as I said, Facebook, they are going to have to make money somehow, and this is a legal and viable way to do it, but I don't think they should be abusing that legality in such a way that they are doing at the moment.
Yeah, because they might end up being a little site called MySpace, if anybody remembers, because I think this irritates people. And one thing is, how are people going to know about this if only 1%, 1 to 2% of the places that are, actually sending out this information, you can only see that, you can't even see that post. So like half the posts that you see on news feeds won't be there. It's messed up. But Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to contribute. This is, I kind of come down here where I feel like I typically come down on the show. That I think this is a pretty crappy, horrible thing to do, and we should certainly cover stories like this so Facebook knows that their customer base does not appreciate it. But I mean, they're within their rights. Legal doesn't always equal good, but it's their platform. They can do with it what they want.
And it's our, and just like the free market, we can choose not to buy into it and leave Facebook.
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
All right, Dan.
No, I agree with 100% what you described regarding the free market. You have your own discretion to either use their interface or move on to a competitor's. But yeah, it might end up being like a little-known website from a few years back called MySpace.
Yeah, but doesn't it, guys, bother you that it's sort of doing the same thing as net neutrality? Oh, yeah. The proposed net neutrality rules of creating a pay-to-play model. If you want your voice heard, you got to pay. That doesn't seem right. They've already. You would think that they make enough money off selling us as advertising, because when it comes to Facebook, they're not selling ads. They're selling us. We are their product.
We are the commodity.
We're commoditized. Yeah, and that's.
Yeah. But the thing is, to your point and to Steven's point, that is not Facebook's job. Like, their job is not to make an informed populace or to protect the integrity of democracy or any of that. Their job is to make money somehow, and they're providing a free service for their users. And even though they're never going to stop selling our data, like, it's better than them selling our data. So, like, I'm like, I made up the 70-40 number. I wish it was a better balance, and I'm sure eventually they might find the right balance, because they're going to turn a lot of people off of Facebook. Like, every time Facebook buys a company, everybody thinks it's going to go to shit because people hate Facebook, even though they can't stop using it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would like to point out for our viewership that everyone else on the panel realizes that 70-40 adds up to 110.
Oh,
yeah.
I said,
I was going to say that.
He said 60-40, and I said 70-30. Ha, very funny. But yeah, I said 70-30. I just made that up as a point. But it's not their responsibility. They have a responsibility to make money, and if they want to prioritize people on their private forum, like, then I think that's up to them. Like, I just don't see how, like, we're going to stop them from doing that, and I don't think that net neutrality laws would even affect Facebook doing that.
Well, it's not advertising. It's not, but I wanted to draw sort of a comparison to that because, I mean, they're doing a two-tiered model. You pay to play, and that's sort of the same situation that we're having with the proposed net neutrality rules. I wasn't directly linking them, but I wanted to make a comparison because they're pretty similar from what it seems. And money has to do with both of them.
I think that it's right that Facebook has no kind of legal or moral obligation to think we've got to kind of correctly or unbiasedly inform our consumer/product, which is everyone who uses Facebook. But I certainly hope that those at the top echelons working at Facebook, that they realise that by doing this, they will have an impact on the way that people inform. I mean, these days, more and more people are seeking or going to the internet to find news rather than TV. And there's been a huge drop-off in TV, and especially for the money category, the 18 to 29 category. I've looked at recently. I mean, they're way going to the internet, and no one cares about going to TV and newspapers and radio. You can forget about it. And so I hope that they realise they don't have to care about it. They should at least know that they are going to have an impact on how well people are informed in the world.